Dad's text glowed cold on my screen back in the old days. But here in Pinewood Estates, it was Karen Harrington's email that hit like a slap across the face. Don't come to the annual block party. We're cutting your privileges. My heart squeezed, but my fingers stayed steady as I replied with one word: understood. Then, without another word, I opened the banking app and removed my name from the HOA's $2.5 million loan. That night, I slept for the first time in weeks. By morning, my phone was on fire. 50 missed calls, texts begging, threatening, demanding I answer. I stared at them, numb. They cut me off, so I cut them off too. If Karen and her little board thought I'd save their precious community again, they had another thing coming. Before we dive into this shocking HOA Karen drama of neighborhood betrayal and unexpected freedom, picture the perfect American suburb. White picket fences, identical lawns trimmed to exactly 3.5 inches, because Karen's precious covenant said so, and every mailbox painted the exact shade of heritage beige, where you get a $250 fine before breakfast. I was Emily Thompson, the quiet accountant in House 47, the one who paid her dues on time and never once let her grass grow a millimeter too long. Everyone called me the responsible one. Translation: the sucker with the 810 credit score who could be guilt-tripped into anything for the good of the community. 2 weeks before Karen's email shattered everything, life felt like a bomb ticking under the HOA welcome sign. We'd all been pretending nothing was wrong, smiling at each other over perfectly aligned trash cans. It started when Karen showed up at my door wearing that fake pearls and pastel smile I hated, her little lapdog board member, Jason, trailing behind like a lost puppy. She flopped a thick folder onto my kitchen table and opened a bottle of sparkling water like she already owned the place. "Emily, darling, I need you to do me a tiny favor," she began. Not even a hello. My stomach turned. Whenever Karen needed a favor, it meant money, paperwork, or my signature on something that would eventually bite me. I stayed quiet, waiting. "It's just a formality," she cooed, waving her manicured hand. "The board already reviewed it. We need a co-signer for the community clubhouse loan, $2.5 million, nothing crazy." Nothing crazy. I felt the blood drain from my face. "What loan?" Jason shrugged, grinning that careless grin. "Luxury expansion, Emily. State-of-the-art pool, event hall, the works. Big returns for property values." The board, already looked it over. Big returns. That was always Karen's promise. Big dreams, zero accountability, and somehow my name on the hook. Karen called the next day, voice syrupy sweet, but with that icy edge underneath. "Emily, this is for the neighborhood. Jason can't move forward without you. You have the best credit. You're the responsible one. You owe us. Owe us." That word burned hotter than any $500 fine for an unauthorized garden gnome. I had worked 2 jobs through college, paid my mortgage early, even helped the widow next door with her HOA violation notices when Karen tried to fine her for having too many flowers. But somehow I always owed them. I agreed, gut twisting. They swore it was just a safety net. "You won't even notice it's there," Karen lied through her perfect teeth. For a few days, things felt almost normal. Neighbors waved, my lawn passed inspection, and Karen sent me texts bragging about the gorgeous renderings of the clubhouse she'd personally designed, complete with a private president's lounge that looked suspiciously like her living room. But under the calm, I saw the cracks. Jason was already spending money that wasn't his. New golf cart parked in the community lot for inspections, boxes of catered lunches showing up at board meetings that somehow cost thousands, receipts for consulting fees that went straight into his pocket. One night, I tried to talk sense. "Karen, you can't spend like this. The loan payments start next month." She laughed, that tinkling laugh that made my skin crawl. "Emily, relax. Once the money rolls in, we'll be fine. And if it gets tight, the neighborhood will help. We always do." That was always Karen's promise. Big visions, zero caution, and everyone else holding the bag. The next day, I found out Jason had missed the loan update meeting with the bank because he was too hungover from the planning party. That was it for me. Panic attacks at 3 a.m., imagining the bank coming after my house, my savings, my peace. I'd build a stable life here despite the ridiculous rules. No political signs, no flags except on approved holidays, no vegetable gardens because they look untidy. And now Karen and Jason were ready to burn it all down for their vanity project. I tried talking to the board. They shut me down faster than a complaint about noise from Karen's executive parties. "Emily, you made a commitment," she said in that calm, cold voice at the emergency meeting. "You don't get to back out now. Don't disappoint the community. Disappoint them." Those words felt like a $1,000 fine with interest. I helped plan the upcoming block party anyway, smiling through clenched teeth while my mind raced. Was I really going to let these people destroy everything I'd worked for? I told myself I'd wait just a little longer. Maybe Karen would change. Maybe the board would wake up. Deep down, I knew they wouldn't. They never did. And I was the one who would pay the price if everything crashed. I didn't sleep much that week. Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured losing my home, my credit, my sanity, all because I was the responsible one in a neighborhood run by a Karen who thought the covenants gave her royal powers. After Karen's little board meeting, I kept telling myself it was all going to work out. Jason would get serious, the clubhouse would actually get built, and I'd just be a quiet name on the paperwork exactly like they promised. That was the hope that helped me sleep, even though deep down I knew better. A week before the block party, Jason invited me to see the progress on the project site. He texted nonstop until I finally agreed. I thought maybe seeing bricks and beams would calm my nerves. Maybe it would feel real. When I got there, I wanted to cry. Barely anything finished, just half-painted walls, random furniture piled like a yard sale, and Jason's team of buddies scrolling phones in the shade. Nobody seemed to know what was going on. "Jason, you told the board you had contractors lined up?" I asked carefully. He laughed and patted my shoulder like I was 5. "It's all about marketing, Emily. We hype it, then we build it. Dad, Karen will help if it gets tight. She always does." That was when it hit me. Jason never planned to pay that loan on his own. He expected the neighborhood to fix it. He expected me to fix it. I felt sick that night. I called Karen hoping she'd finally see reason. "Karen, I saw the site myself. There's no real plan. The payment starts soon." Her voice went hard and cold over the phone. "Emily, I don't want to hear it. This is the community. We help each other. You should be proud to stand behind us." I bit my tongue so hard it hurt. Community helps each other, but somehow that only went one way. Jason messed up, Jason took money, Jason wasted it, and I was supposed to clean it up again and again while Karen smiled for the neighborhood newsletter. I spent the next day at work trying to concentrate, but the numbers blurred. The risk was too big. If they defaulted, the bank would come for my name next. My house, my future, my peace, all gone because I co-signed for a pool that would probably end up with Karen's name engraved on a fake gold plaque. That night, Jason showed up unannounced with pizza, acting like nothing was wrong. He flopped on my couch and started bragging about some influencer he wanted to hire to promote the clubhouse. I couldn't take it anymore. "Jason, are you even listening? You're already in over your head. You're going to crash and take the whole neighborhood down with you." He shrugged. "Calm down, Emily. Why are you so dramatic?" I wanted to scream. I had tried so hard for so long to protect everyone, but they didn't see me as a person, just a safety net with good credit. Karen called after Jason left. "Emily, honey, the board is a little stressed right now. Don't push them too hard." I swallowed a sob. "Karen, I'm scared. If this fails, they'll come after me. I could lose everything." She sighed like I was being difficult. "I know, sweetie, but you're stronger than the rest of us. You'll figure something out." That was all anyone ever told me. I hung up and sat in the dark. It was like screaming underwater and no one could hear. The next morning, I tried to pull myself together, went to work, smiled at my boss, nodded through meetings, but my mind kept spinning. Jason was reckless. Karen was blind. The board was scared to stand up to her. And me, I was the responsible one, the steady one, the one about to be crushed under their mistakes. That night, I stood in front of the mirror and said it out loud. "They don't care about me. It felt like ripping off a bandage. Maybe I could walk away. Maybe I should. But the guilt was huge, like a $5,000 special assessment on my chest. How could I betray the community? How could I look my neighbors in the eye after everything they'd done for me, even if most of it was just controlling me? I didn't have an answer yet, but I knew I couldn't go on like this. Something had to break, and it was going to break soon. The week before the block party felt like balancing on a thin wire over a canyon of ridiculous fines. I kept waiting for Jason to slip, for Karen to snap, for the bank to call. Anything could push me over. Karen emailed me on Thursday to remind me about the pre-party cookout. "Emily, don't be late," she wrote, all gentle and fake, like we weren't one missed payment away from losing everything. I showed up that afternoon, trying to hold myself together. The backyard, well, the community green space, looked the same as always. Karen's big grill, flower pots arranged exactly to code, neighbors laughing with the other residents. It was almost peaceful if I ignored the loan hanging over my head like a dark cloud. Jason strutted around bragging about his business empire, telling anyone who would listen about all the money the neighborhood was going to make. I wanted to scream. Nobody questioned him. Nobody asked where the money was coming from. I pulled him aside near the tool shed. "Jason, stop telling everyone we're rich. You haven't laid a single brick yet." He glared, then smirked. "Relax, Emily. Nobody wants to hear you whining. We're celebrating." Celebrating what? I thought. A house of cards built on my signature about to fall. I went inside to breathe, washing my hands at the community sink. Old Mrs. Abernathy came in, smiling kindly. "Emily, sweetheart, don't worry so much. Karen knows what she's doing." I wanted to laugh. Karen was many things, but competent wasn't one of them. Dinner was tense. Karen made a toast, thanking Jason for leading the neighborhood into a new chapter. Then she looked right at me, sharp and cold. "And we're grateful Emily stood behind us." Everyone clapped. I felt my stomach drop. They made it sound like I'd had a choice, like I'd been cheering instead of screaming inside. After dinner, Karen pulled me aside near the grill. Her smile was gone. "You've been trying to scare the board," she accused. "I'm trying to protect everyone," I snapped back. Her eyes went hard. "Don't question my decisions. Don't challenge Jason. You're a support system, Emily. Nothing more." My heart broke at those words. Nothing more. I nodded silently, but inside a spark of rage lit up. Support system? Was that all I was? No one cared what this was doing to me. Only that I kept Jason's and Karen's dreams alive no matter the cost. I stepped away, shaking, and found Mrs. Abernathy fixing plates. "Karen is going to ruin everything," I whispered. "Jason can't handle this loan. We'll all go under." She sighed, refusing to meet my eyes. "Karen knows what she's doing. Please don't stir trouble, Emily." I felt alone in a crowd full of neighbors. After everyone left that night, I lay awake replaying Karen's words. "You're a support system, nothing more." Was that really who I was? A safety net? A name on a loan? The next morning, Jason called me again, already asking about more paperwork just in case. "We might need to restructure the loan," he whined. Panic rose in my throat. Restructure? We hadn't even paid the first payment. "Jason, no. Get your house in order first." He whined like a child. "Emily, come on. Don't be difficult. Karen will be mad." I hung up on him. Later that day, Karen texted, "Don't ever embarrass the board again. Remember your place." My place. I slammed my phone down so hard it rattled the table. The facade was cracking. I could see behind the perfect lawns and HOA welcome banners now. The neighborhood photo, the warm block parties, the shared cookouts, it was all fake. They didn't love me for me. They loved me for what I could do for them. By that night, I was done. I didn't have a full plan yet, but the first seeds were growing. I wouldn't let them destroy me. I wouldn't let them own me. And no matter what it cost, I was going to find a way out, even if it meant losing the community I thought I loved. I tried to pretend everything was fine after the cookout, but my heart felt like it was about to explode. Every time Jason called, every time Karen glared at me across the street, I felt smaller, weaker. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't even smile anymore. Then came the worst day. Jason barged into my house without warning. He still had the spare key from when I helped with the garden compliance. He was all smiles, waving a thick folder. "Hey, Emily, I need your help. It's just a quick signature." My chest tightened. "What is it now?" He dropped the folder on my table. "We're restructuring the loan. The bank wants more proof of cosigner security. You need to sign these forms." I opened the folder with shaking hands. Page after page of legal words, but one line burned into my brain. Increased personal guarantee. My personal guarantee. If they failed, I wouldn't just lose my credit. I could lose everything I owned. I looked up at him, and something inside me snapped. "Jason, I'm not signing this." He laughed like I was a child. "Come on, Emily. You're being dramatic. You're part of this." I shoved the folder back. "I'm done being part of your mess." His face turned cold, angrier than I'd ever seen. "You don't get to walk away. Karen will never let you." I stepped back. "Karen can't stop me." His voice dropped to a hiss. "You're part of the community. You owe us." That word again. I felt the heat rise in my face. "I don't owe you anything," I whispered, trembling. He slammed his hand on the table, making me jump. "If you don't sign this, you're ruining us." I almost choked on the pain in my chest. Us. When had us ever included me? Jason stormed out, yelling over his shoulder that I'd regret it. My legs gave out, and I sank to the floor, sobbing. I had tried so hard to save the neighborhood, to save Karen's ego, to save everyone. But nobody wanted saving. They only wanted me to sacrifice. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. I could feel the walls of my life closing in. The bank, the loan, Jason, Karen. It was too much. Then the idea came, simple, harsh, final. Remove your name from the loan. My hand shook at the thought. Was it even possible? Would they come after me? But I had to try. If I didn't, I'd lose everything anyway. The next morning I called the bank. The lady on the phone was polite but firm. I explained everything. Karen's lies, Jason's spending, my fears. I held my breath while she checked the paperwork. "Miss Thompson," she finally said, "since the funds have not been fully drawn, you have the right to remove your guarantee before final disbursement." I nearly burst into tears. "I want to do that," I said. My voice felt tiny but powerful. She took down my details and promised to process the removal. When I hung up, I felt like I could breathe for the first time in months. Then the guilt punched me in the stomach. I was betraying the board, Karen, the entire neighborhood. But wasn't it worse to betray myself? I stared at my phone, waiting for the fallout. Nothing came that night. No calls, no texts. It was the quiet before the hurricane. I sat alone at my window, watching the lights of the suburb blinking in the dark. I'd done what I had to do. No more running. No more saving everyone else. The next day, Karen's email came like a bullet. "Don't come to the block party. We're cutting your privileges." My eyes stung, but I didn't cry. I typed back one word, understood. Then I opened the banking app and confirmed my name was gone from the loan. Finally, I was free. I set my phone down, took a deep breath, and waited for the war I knew was coming. I didn't expect the silence to last. By the next morning, my phone was buzzing nonstop. 50 missed calls stacked up like a wall. I ignored them, my heart pounding every time Jason's name popped up. Then Karen called over and over, but I couldn't answer. I felt like if I did, I'd drown all over again. Instead, I stood in my tiny kitchen, breathing slow, reminding myself, you're not their safety net anymore. Then came the messages that ended everything. Karen's words, plain and sharp, "Don't come to the block party. We're cutting your privileges." I read it 3 times, numb. It should have hurt more, but somehow I felt relieved. I wasn't invited to watch my neighbors pretend to love the community while I secretly held up their world. I wouldn't have to stand there smiling while they brag about Jason's fake success. My reply was simple. Understood. When I hit send, my hand shook. Then I opened my banking app one more time. There it was, my name officially removed from the HOA's $2.5 million loan. I almost couldn't believe it, like a chain had snapped around my chest. But within minutes, my relief turned into terror. Calls and texts flooded in so fast, I thought my phone would explode. Emily, what did you do? Jason. Answer me now. Karen. Emily, please. You have to fix this. Mrs. Abernathy. My throat closed up. I put the phone down and let it ring until the battery died. That night I sat in my living room, lights off, shaking. I could practically feel Jason pounding on my door even though he wasn't there. Karen's voice in my head screaming about community loyalty. Mrs. Abernathy's soft, sad face begging me to forgive, to go back to help. No, I had nothing left to give. The next morning, I went to work like nothing had happened. Put on a clean shirt, tied my hair back, smiled at my boss, pretended I was fine. At lunch, I checked my phone again. 50 missed calls. 50. It was like they'd only just realized what losing me really meant. That night, Jason showed up for real. I heard him pounding on the door, yelling my name. Emily, open up. We need to talk. I stood behind the door, silent, hugging myself so hard my arms went numb. You ruined everything. Jason shouted. The bank is calling Karen. They're saying the loan isn't secured anymore. I didn't answer. His voice cracked. Emily, please, you can't do this. You're part of the neighborhood. I closed my eyes, tears spilling over. I was part of it, but I couldn't be their shield anymore. Eventually he left, footsteps heavy on the walkway. I stayed frozen until I couldn't hear him anymore. When I finally went to bed, my mind was racing. I crossed a line I could never uncross. Was I free or completely alone? The next day, I got one more email from Karen. Just 6 words. You are dead to this community. My hands trembled as I read it. The words felt like a knife, but also a bandage, like the final break I needed to heal. No more pretending. No more guilt. No more playing the good neighbor who cleaned up after Karen's disasters. My name was gone from the loan. I was out of the block party, out of the community, maybe forever. It hurt in a deep place I didn't even know I had. But at the same time, there was a strange peace, like standing on solid ground for the first time. I told myself, this is your new beginning. It was a scary beginning, but it was mine, and nobody could take that away. The next morning felt like waking up on a battlefield. My phone, charged overnight, lit up with calls the second I turned it on. There were so many voicemails, I couldn't even look at them all. The messages stacked up one after another. Angry, desperate, wild. Emily, you're destroying this neighborhood. Pick up the phone, Emily. Don't do this to us. It was all from them, Karen, Jason, even Mrs. Abernathy's worried voice. I shut it off again. I couldn't take it. My chest felt too tight, like a special assessment band was squeezing my lungs every second. I made tea with shaking hands, staring out my kitchen window. Outside the sun was rising like any other day, but nothing felt normal anymore. I'd taken away the thing they thought they owned, me, and now the whole neighborhood was falling apart. By afternoon, Jason tried again. This time he was knocking so hard on the door it rattled. Emily, let me in. Talk to me. We can fix this. I didn't move. I sat on the floor behind the couch, hugging my knees. My heart pounded like a drum. Don't you get it? Jason yelled through the wood. They're going to take everything. Karen's freaking out. We need you. We need you. That was the story of my life, wasn't it? They needed me. They needed my credit, my signature, my forgiveness. But they never cared what I needed. After a while, I heard him slide to the floor on the other side of the door, breathing hard. Emily, his voice cracked, sounding younger than I'd heard in years. Please don't do this to me. My eyes burned with tears. I wanted to open the door, to hug him, to tell him I'd fix everything, but I couldn't. If I opened that door, I'd be trapped all over again. I stayed silent. Eventually he left. When I finally stood up, I felt like I'd aged 10 years in one day. I couldn't remember the last time I'd eaten a proper meal or even laughed. My whole body felt heavy and hollow at the same time. That night, I lay in bed, listening to voicemail after voicemail. This is your neighborhood. Don't betray your community. Do you know what you've done? My eyes blurred, but I forced myself to listen. I had to remember why I was doing this, so I wouldn't break. Then Karen's voice came through, cold and final. You will regret this, Emily. We won't help you when you come crawling back. A cold chill ran through me. I wasn't planning to crawl back. That was the difference. Now, the next morning, I woke to silence. No calls, no pounding on my door, nothing. It felt strange, like the eye of a hurricane. I got dressed, went to work, tried to focus, but every tiny sound made me jump. I kept expecting Jason to appear to drag me back into the mess. That night, Karen called one more time. This time I answered because her name still made my heart squeeze. "Emily," she breathed. "Baby, please. Jason is going to lose everything. They're talking about repossessing the clubhouse land." I swallowed hard. "Karen, I can't do it. I can't save him." She was quiet for a long moment. Then what do we do?" I heard it in her voice. She didn't have answers. She'd always depended on the board. The board depended on Jason. And they all depended on me. "Karen," I whispered, my voice shaking. "I'm sorry, but I can't be your rescue anymore." She started to cry. It ripped through me like a knife. When the call ended, I curled up under my blanket and cried harder than I had in years. The silence afterward was the worst part. I was alone, truly alone. But even in the loneliness, a tiny spark of hope glowed in me. I had done the impossible. I had chosen myself. The next morning, I tried to move on with my day. I made a pot of coffee, checked my emails, tried to act like a normal person with a normal life. But every time the floor creaked, I jumped, thinking Jason would come pounding again. He didn't show up until after lunch. I heard the knock first, softer this time, almost polite. "Emily," his voice was shaky. "Can we talk?" I froze, gripping the edge of the counter. A part of me wanted to slam the door in his face, but another part needed to know what he'd say. I opened the door just enough to see his face. Jason looked terrible. Eyes red, hair a mess, dark circles under his eyes. I'd never seen him look so lost. "Emily, please." He stepped closer. "Just hear me out." I stepped back, letting him inside. He sank onto my couch like his legs couldn't hold him up anymore. "They're going to take everything," he whispered. "The bank, the land, Karen's position, everything." I felt a sharp pain in my chest, but I stood firm. "I warned you, Jason." "You didn't listen." He buried his face in his hands. "I know. I messed up. I messed up so bad." For a second, I saw the neighbor who once helped me move in, the one who taught me the HOA ropes. I almost reached for him. Almost. But then I remembered the paperwork, the threats, the way he tried to trap me again and again. "Jason," I said softly, "you made your choice. I can't fix this." He looked up, eyes wild. "Yes, you can. They'll let us add you back on the loan if you agree. You have to sign it again, Emily. Please." I shook my head. "No." He jumped up, fist clenched. "You don't understand. Karen is losing her mind. Mrs. Abernathy is crying every night. You're tearing this neighborhood apart." The words slammed into me like a punch. I was tearing the neighborhood apart. "Jason," I said, voice trembling, "I didn't cause this. You did. Karen did. I'm done paying for everyone else's mistakes." His face twisted in rage. "You think you're better than us?" "No," I whispered, tears in my eyes. "I think I deserve to live my own life." He went quiet, staring at me with something like betrayal, like he couldn't believe his responsible neighbor was actually saying no. Then he laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You'll regret this," he spat. "You'll come crawling back when you realize you've got nobody left." I stood taller, wiping my tears. "If that's the price for peace, I'll pay it." He shook his head, defeated, and stumbled toward the door. "Don't bother showing up at any more events," he called over his shoulder. "You're dead to us." The door slammed, rattling the frame. I sank onto the floor, breathing hard. Dead to them. The words circled in my head like a curse. That night, Karen tried to call. I let go to voicemail. Her voice was shaky, begging me to reconsider, to be the bigger person, to help Jason for all of us. I sat in the dark, listening to her cry, and felt my own heart shatter. I loved the neighborhood so much it physically hurt. But love couldn't fix their mess. I put my phone on silent and curled up in bed. The house felt like a cave. Too quiet, too big, too cold. But it was mine. My choices, my mistakes, my future. And for the first time in years, that felt like a gift. When morning came, I forced myself out of bed, took a shower, brushed my hair. I looked in a mirror and barely recognized myself. Eyes tired but steady. Maybe they'd never speak to me again. Maybe I'd spend block parties alone. Maybe I'd cry for months. But no one would ever hold me hostage again. Not Karen, not Jason, not anyone. I took a deep breath and stepped into the new day, knowing the fight wasn't over. But at least for once it was mine to fight. The first week after Jason left was quiet. Painfully quiet. No pounding on my door, no frantic calls, no texts threatening or begging, just silence. It should have felt peaceful, but it made my heart ache in a way I couldn't explain. I still went to work every day, trying to pretend I was fine. My boss noticed how jumpy I was, how tired. "Rough week?" she asked gently. I gave her a weak smile. "Yeah, neighborhood stuff." She nodded. "You're stronger than you think, Emily." Her words stayed with me the whole day. Stronger than you think. Maybe I was. One night that week, I found myself standing outside Karen's house. I hadn't planned it. My feet just carried me there like muscle memory. The windows were lit. Voices inside. My neighbors carrying on without me. Part of me wanted to walk up the porch, knock, beg for forgiveness just to make the pain stop, to go back to the old way where they told me who to be and what to do. And I obeyed. But I stayed on the sidewalk, hidden in the dark. I saw Karen's silhouette pacing angry in the kitchen. Jason slumped at the table with his head in his hands. Mrs. Abernathy wiping her eyes. They were falling apart. And I couldn't fix it. Tears ran down my cheeks hot and endless. For years I believed my worth was tied to their approval, their community love. That if I just followed the rules harder, gave more, they would see me, they would choose me. But they never had. I turned away and walked home. Every step felt like ripping off another piece of my old life. The next morning, a letter came in the mail from the bank. I froze, hands shaking, terrified it was another trap. But inside was just a formal statement confirming my name was fully removed from the loan with no further obligation. It was real. I was free. That night, I lit a candle in my house. It was silly, but it felt like marking a new beginning. The little flame flickered on my table, soft and warm. I stared at it, breathing steady for the first time in months. The phone stayed silent. Nobody called. Nobody texted. It hurt. Losing them. I won't pretend it didn't. Every memory of block parties, holidays, even those normal boring weekends together, they all hurt like losing a limb. But there was peace in the pain too. Like I was finally standing in my own skin without fear. 2 days later, Mrs. Abernathy showed up at my door. Her eyes were red, her voice small. "Emily," she whispered. "Please, we don't know what to do." My heart twisted. I wanted to take her in my arms, tell her I'd fix everything, but I couldn't. I wouldn't. "Mrs. Abernathy," I said softly, "you need to let me go. I can't save Jason. I can't save Karen. I can only save myself." She reached for me, tears spilling. "But you're our neighbor." I nodded, tears falling with hers. "I am, but I'm my own person too." She crumbled in front of me, hugging me so tight I could hardly breathe. For a moment, I hugged her back, soaking in the warmth, the sadness, the love, all tangled together. Then I pulled away. "I care about this place," I told her, "but I can't come back." She nodded slowly, painfully, like she finally understood. When she left, I closed the door gently behind her. My chest ached, but something inside felt solid. I was not a safety net. I was not a name on a loan. I was Emily, a woman who could stand on her own 2 feet, even if that meant standing alone. Weeks passed, and the calls faded away. The world didn't end. I kept going. Pay my mortgage, cook my meals, water my little plant by the window. Some nights I still cried, missing the dream of a neighborhood that would choose me for me. But each time I dried my tears and reminded myself I chose me, and that had to be enough. For the first time in my life, I was free. And the ridiculous HOA rules? They suddenly seemed a lot less scary when the biggest Karen of them all had finally lost her crown.